right, it's 1:30, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. If anybody joins us in the meantime, we'll just keep on going. And if anybody has any questions, just feel free to chime in. And at the end, we'll take any questions if anybody has any. All right, so today we're going to discuss the fundamental tools for successful genetic selection in beef cattle. And I'm going to come at this from an angle of looking at the seed stock cow-calf operation and kind of looking at it side by side with a commercial cow-calf operation and kind of looking at what genetic selection looks like in both worlds, okay, and how they kind of help one another. So my name's John Langdon. I'm the regional livestock specialist in southeast central Missouri, and I'm from a farm background in Benson, North Carolina. So I come from a hog and cattle operation, about 10,000 head of hogs under contract with Murphy Brown. And we got about 90 mama cows, Red Angus and Simmental genetics. So I'm from a production background, and we do a little seed stock, and we have a small operation and try to market seed stock. And also we sell some commercial stuff too. But so I've raised cattle and showed cattle all my life, but just trying to kind of go into what the looks like our, there we go. My screen's doing something funny there. So anyways, technology, I guess maybe it's operators may be to blame too. Okay, so coming from my background, my farm background, and also my educational background from NC State and also Texas A&M in animal breeding and genetics, and all the questions I've gotten over the past little while about genetics and how to use EPDs and how to manage your herd, whether you're a seed stock cow-calf operator or whether you're a commercial outfit. Both outfits would benefit from understanding the use of genetic selection using EPDs, although it may look different for both types of enterprises. So some important factors to consider. The type of operation you're looking at, like I said, seed stock or commercial, and we're coming at this from a cow-calf perspective. And also another pillar that's important would be match the genetics to the environment and your production goals. And a third pillar of support here is adopt a record-keeping system that works for you. And I notice I capitalized the word for, so each letter in there is capitalized to say for you and not against you. So record-keeping is very important. It needs to be something that works for you and it's readable later on. It's fairly efficient. So properly utilize expected progeny differences, EPDs, for genetic selection and culling would be the fourth pillar of support here. So diving right in, talking about what a seed stock operation is and kind of how genetic merit is improved in a seed stock operation, and basically the ins and outs of that. So seed stock operations are cow-calf operations made up of exclusively purebred stock that are registered with a breed association for genetic evaluation so that EPDs are made. And the goal is to produce purebred offspring and breeding stock with increased genetic merit for traits of economic and production importance each generation. So again, the end product from a seed stock operation is genetically improved breeding stock. So the phenotypically and genetically superior offspring, basically phenotype is what you see in the animal. In other words, the overall performance of the animal due to its genetics and the environment, as well as its genetically superiority. In other words, looking at its EPDs, how it lines up genetically compared to the rest of the herd. Phenotypically and genetically superior offspring are registered with the Breed Association for Genetic Evaluation. And again, EPDs are made, and oftentimes a percentage of females are retained in the herd as breeding stock replacements as they're needed when older cows phase out. And the larger remainder is sold as breeding stock to other seed stock producers. So on the other side of that coin, phenotypically and genetically inferior offspring that are reproductively sound, yet have missed the mark by some degree to qualify as a seed stock animal, are sold to commercial producers for use as breeding stock in their herds. So even the culls from a seed stock operation can be improved genetic piece in a commercial operation. So, as one improves, the other improves. So kind of switching gears in the same vehicle here, a commercial cow-calf operation we're going to look at now. With a commercial cow-calf outfit, you're generally made up of a variety of different breed compositions within and often between mama cows in the operation. That's kind of the reality. It'd be nice if, and it is in a lot of cases in commercial herds, where the mothers are fairly uniform in their genetic composition, but there's always like a leading breed going on there, whether it's an Angus based commercial herd or it's a Hereford based or red Angus based, or some breed of interest has kind of got the leading torch, so to speak, in the race, where the goal is to produce offspring for terminal purposes. So that's what a commercial outfit is, and the genetic selection will be on the sire that you use on there, and the cows you make as replacements will be a little bit easier the more uniform your herd is. However, like I said, there's variability within animals as far as their genetic composition goes, and then you compare animals to one another. There's some differences there too between animals in terms of their genetic makeup and breed composition. So the end product from the commercial cow-calf operation is terminal, and you're looking at meat. So the end product will be slaughter. So they'll go through various stages before getting there from the cow-calf operation. They'll, the weaner stage, the stocker stage, and then feeders, and then they'll eventually end up in the slaughterhouse and in the grocery store and on somebody's plate. So to go ahead and say this, without the commercial sector of the industry, seed stock producers would cease to be in business. The seed stock sector works to feed the commercial sector. All right, so purebred bulls from seed stock operations are often purchased, or semen is purchased by commercial producers and used on their commercial cows to increase the performance in their terminal offspring by the use of genetic selection via the purebred bull. So let's move on to the next support pillar that we have here of matching the genetics to the environment. All right, this is a very important piece. So, if you're a cow-calf producer, you're either a commercial producer or you're a seed stock producer, and whatever ecoregion of the country you're in, it's always wise to consider what breed would be the most well adapted and well suited to that region. And you can do a little research on the breeds and breed compositions and possible composites that would do well in certain areas. Obviously, there's fescue in parts of the country, and there's a lot of cattle that aren't very tolerant to the fescue, and there can be a lot of detrimental effects from that. And in other words, it would be kind of foolish in some ways to select a bull from somewhere like southeast central North Carolina or southern Texas, where there's plenty of coastal grass out there, and those cattle are reared on coastal grass, and they probably weren't selected for fescue tolerance, and you bring them to southeast central Missouri and they fall apart because the ergovaline just tears them up. So, and that's coming from the fescue. So I think there's plenty of research that I've done, and Dr. Jerry Decker from the University of Missouri has done, and a lot of other people have done, related to the importance of selecting animals based on their genetic merit within region of the United States. So it's not something to ignore. So I think you'd have a good day's work put ahead if you went and did your research on the breed of interest and their adaptability to the climatic area that you're in, an ecoregion, environmental region, the various names that there are for it. And also you want to look at, say there is a certain breed you want to use, you kind of stuck on, or family heritage or something, kind of ties you to a certain breed. You look at different lines within breeds. So there might be certain lines of Hereford and certain lines of Angus or red Angus or whatever the case may be that are more well adapted to certain climates than they are others. Some may be more adapted to Montana's weather, and some may be more adapted to what you'd see in Texas. But anyhow, then the market is another issue too, that you'd want to, of course, make sure that you've got a product that will supply the demand for. So in other words, you want to find out, what you want to do is match your cows to your environment. in terms of their breed composition, breed composition, and also match the bull up and the breed of bull that you're using. If you're a seed stock producer, it's pretty simple, purebred. But in the case of a commercial operation, you'd want to consider what bull to use with the type of cow you got there to make the best cross, and make sure those breed compositions of the bull and also the cows, as well as the offspring, will be able to perform, or at least you would predict that they'd perform as well as they could in that environment, based on their genetic breed composition and their level of adaptability. So in order for them to perform best, so in other words, they perform best, they gain the most weight, and they fatten like they're supposed to. The market, is what it needs to be. Things will turn out good. So that's what we want, is profitability and to continue the heritage we enjoy raising cattle. So another important piece of this puzzle is adopting a record keeping system that works for you. And again, notice I capitalized the letters there in the word for, works for you and not against you. As I can't count how many times I've taken records on pieces of paper, or others have taken records on pieces of paper that it takes longer to find the piece of paper and then to read it once you find it. Sometimes that gets to be a hassle, unless you got really neat handwriting, you can keep up with everything. But sometimes it's important to write things chute side and then bring it in the office and put it in a program like CattleMax, or if you got a good true test scale head, you can wand your cattle, and you got them EID, and you can load all that information into the scale head, and you can bring it into the CattleMax or something like CalSense and get your data loaded into the program without even having to pick up a pencil. So whatever fits your situation the best. Maybe you're technologically savvy. I would encourage CattleMax. I really like it. I'm not trying to sell one over the other. I'm just saying that I've used it and I really like it. Also, the breed associations, they really do a good job, of course, of taking the information you feed to them and keeping that on record, and they make EPDs with that pedigree and performance data that you send to them. Also, a master binder containing hard copies of records and photos is always a good idea. I'm only 30 years old, but I'm old school when it comes to that. I love technology, but I also love hard copies. So I recommend both. As far as ID goes, I kind of skipped over that to start with, but saying all the record keeping to make the point that if you leave out ID, they don't have a tag, they don't have a tattoo or a brand, it's kind of hard to identify them unless you got a really good memory. And most people memory isn't that good, especially if your cattle are pretty uniform. So you at birth tag them, put a tag in their ear, and then in the opposite ear I'd put a tattoo that corresponds with the tag number in the opposite ear. And why some people would ask why you would do both. Well, the tag is a temporary identification. When I say temporary, it can fall out, obviously. And the tattoo, if it's done well, you got enough ink on there and you've had plenty of penetration into the ear, the tag falls out and get the cow in the chute. You can rub the ear off, and without much trouble, you can tell what the ID is and make her a new tag. And also, you can see that I've got a picture of a freeze brand here that we were doing. Me and a few other specialists were putting some video footage together for a freeze branding program in the future. And I use one of those pictures here so you can see the brand that's put on the cow there. So the brand is a herd identification or a ranch identification, if you will. Not necessarily a unique to the animal ID, but in the case that you got a good operation, you're proud of it, and you want your brand on them, that's the thing to do. And also in the case that there may be some cattle theft in certain places, it's always nice to make sure you got your stuff accounted for. So the most important trait of an animal is their ear tag, their ID. So if they don't have that ID, you can have all the performance records you can dig up, but if they don't have the ID, it's not worth anything. Okay, so proper usage of EPDs for genetic selection. All right, let's get into the fun part here. So everybody that's in the cattle business has to some degree heard of EPDs. EPDs are, that acronym means expected progeny difference. And there are direct EPDs and maternal EPDs. And I'm going to show you what the difference is if you don't already know. So for a direct EPD, let's start out with some examples. You got birth weight, which is BW there, and then the CED is calving age direct. WW stands for weaning weight, and then yearling weight is YW. And traits of carcass merit are also all direct traits and direct EPDs. So basically, this is an estimate. Your direct EPD is of the ability of an animal to transmit its own genetic merit for a particular trait onto its offspring. Okay, onto its own offspring. So if I'm looking at two bulls in a sale catalog or semen catalog, and I'm comparing them based on the birth weight or weaning weight or one of those direct traits, so I'm looking at the two bulls EPDs and then taking the difference in them. And that difference I see would be the difference I'd expect to see on average between the two bulls' calves, its own offspring. Okay, so moving down here to the maternal EPDs, what you see is an estimate of the ability of an animal to transmit its own genetic merit for a particular trait onto its daughter's offspring. Okay, instead of onto its own offspring, it's onto its daughter's offspring. And maternal EPDs, some examples are Cavanese maternal, CEM, and the milk EPD, which is the maternal additive genetic component of the animal's daughter's calf's weaning weight. And then also the MG, which in the Hereford Association is referred to as milk and growth. And that is 100% of milk plus half of weaning weight. Okay. And those traits are referring to predicted performance in an animal's daughter's calves. So I'm going to do an example here of comparing EPDs. A direct EPD, weaning weight, and also a maternal EPD, milk, between two bulls, two Red Angus bulls. I can compare bulls within the same breed. You can also compare bulls of different breeds, or cows, either one, of different breeds. But when you're comparing bulls of different breeds, what I generally try to convey is that there is a list of adjustments that the Beef Improvement Federation, BIF, puts out every year that you can add to the EPD of the two different bulls that are of different breeds from one another, and true the EPDs up and then compare them. But we'll get to that in a later slide. We're comparing two Red Angus bulls together, so we don't need any adjustment right now. So we're going to look at Merlin 018A, and we're going to look at his weaning weight EPD, which is 83, and also his milk EPD, which you see there is 20. Okay, and he's got pretty high accuracy on both of them. And we're going to compare that Red Angus bull to another Red Angus bull within the same breed, Profit Builder. Okay, so H2R Profit Builder B403, and his weaning weight EPD is 79 pounds. And his milk EPD is 10 pounds. And he's got pretty decent accuracy on both of those, particularly the weaning weight EPD. All right. So whenever I'm looking at, on the left-hand side, I've got the weaning weight and milk EPD set up there for the bull Merlin. And then on the far right-hand side, you can see the EPDs, weaning weight and milk, respectively, going down vertically there. You've got weaning weight on the top and then milk on the bottom there for Profit Builder, excuse me. So, and then in the middle, you can see the difference in the interpretation. So looking at Merlin, let's look at the two bulls, comparing Merlin to a Profit Builder in terms of weaning weight EPD. So Merlin's got a weaning weight EPD of 83 pounds, and Profit Builder's got a weaning weight EPD of 79 pounds. Take the difference, you can see there in the middle, highlighted in yellow, is 4 pounds. So what does that mean? Well, it makes sense. Take the difference. And kind of like what we discussed in definition earlier in general terms, we'll discuss it in a specific example here. So how do I interpret this? I'd expect calves sired by Merlin, the bull Merlin, to be about 4 pounds heavier on the average than calves sired by Profit Builder at the time of weaning when comparing the adjusted weaning weights. Okay, so let's move down, and that was a direct trait, or a direct EPD. Now let's move down to a maternal EPD. So comparing the milk EPDs of the bull Merlin to the bull Profit Builder, Merlin's milk EPD is 20 pounds and Profit Builder's milk EPD is 10 pounds. Comparing the two, the difference is 10 pounds. So what does this mean? I'd expect calves out of Merlin's daughters, okay, calves out of Merlin's daughters to have about a 10-pound advantage on the average in adjusted weaning weight due solely to the maternal genetic effects on weaning weight compared to the calves out of Profit Builder's daughters. Okay, so that's an example of comparing a direct EPD, two Red Angus bulls together in terms of a direct EPD weaning weight and also in terms of a maternal EPD milk. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so I was mentioning a little bit about comparing bulls of different breeds to one another in terms of predicted performance using their EPDs. When we're talking about comparing across breeds. So in other words, when you're comparing two Red Angus bulls or two Angus bulls or two Hereford bulls of the same breed, you don't have to use any adjustments. But if I'm comparing bulls here, you know, two different breeds, let's say that I got a commercial operation and I'm wanting to use a Simmental bull or possibly a Charolais bull. And I've narrowed it down to those two bulls. I got one Simmental and one Charolais, and I'm trying to figure out what's going to, you know, which one is most favorable in terms of predicted genetic merit. So can I just compare them to raw EPDs? No, that's not reasonable because there's two different genetic evaluations coming from two vastly different pedigrees and vastly different performances. Everything else is different. It just doesn't make any sense to compare a Simmental to a Charolais without the adjustment. So that's what these adjustments are here for. So BIF does put them out, and you can look them up. I put my citation down there in the bottom right of the slide, and you can take that and you can Google it, or you can put that right into your browser and search that, and it'll carry right to it. But so this is the adjustment page. So what I've done is I've made an example here comparing the Simmental bull Top Gun with the Charolais bull Sundance. I've just shorthanded their names, and so comparing their weaning weight EPDs. And you may want to compare the birth weights too, because that can be an issue in a lot of cases. But if you're looking at the growth side of things for weaning weight, let's say I want to compare those two bulls that way. So for Top Gun, he's got a weaning weight EPD from the Simmental Association of 81.4 pounds. And then the Charolais bull Sundance's EPD is 59 pounds. So what I do then is I can't compare those without adjustments. So I go to the adjustment page and I look at the Simmental adjustment. Looking at the Simmental adjustment, Simmental, where are you at? Okay, there we go, down at the bottom. Eyes are crossing. So you got under weaning weight here, you got a Simmental adjustment there of negative 13 pounds. So what you do then is you'll add negative 13 to his weaning weight for the adjusted EPD, and you'll get a 68.4 pound resulting new weaning weight EPD for that Simmental bull Top Gun there. Okay, so that's been adjusted. Now let's adjust the Charolais bull's weaning weight EPD using the BIF adjustment. So going to the Charolais bull, you can see Charolais here going under weaning weight. He's got a 29.6 pound adjustment there. So we'll add that right on in there, and then add that to his EPD, and his new EPD is 88.6 pounds. So the difference between the weaning weight EPDs of these two bulls using the new adjusted EPDs, the Charolais bull's 88.6 pounds and the Simmental bull's weaning weight EPD is 68.4. Take the difference, it's 20.2. Okay, so I would expect on the average calves sired by the Charolais bull to weigh about 20.2 pounds heavier when looking at their adjusted weaning weights, okay, than the calves sired by the Simmental bull. So basically what that adjustment does is if you got apples and oranges and you're trying to compare them, you kind of true one up to the other, true both of them up to each other, and then you can compare them on an even playing field. So today we've talked about how to basically distinguish the difference in what genetic selection looks like in the context of a seed stock operation and also in the context of a cow-calf commercial operation. what that looks like, and what the end products are, and what you kind of be looking for there, as far as end product. In other words, seed stock operation, you're looking at making future parents to make future better genetics in their offspring. And also in the commercial operation, you're looking at terminal calves there. And the seed stock operation sort of feeds their new genetics into the commercial outfit, and then they produce better and better calves in terms of production performance for carcass merit and quality each successive generation. At least that's the theory. So we've talked about matching the cattle to their environment, matching genetics up to the environment to get optimum performance, and also making sure the market demand is met as well. Making sure your record keeping is sound. And in other words, those records that you report to the breed association need to be accurate and timely. The pedigree and performance information that they get is only as good as what you give them. And the contemporary group, make sure that's taken care of, and you report everything the way it needs to be reported. And genetic evaluations will be what they need to be as much as we can get them there. So, and also knowing how to compare animals, compare bulls and sell catalogs of the same breed, using EPDs, and also comparing bulls of different breeds, using EPDs and adding the adjustments to them so that you can rightfully compare them. And, using those EPDs, in other words, you would expect to see those differences that you'd see, in other words, comparing the two bulls EPDs, those differences would be the most true when you're breeding those bulls to similar cows, genetically similar cows in a similar environment. I realize that in a commercial operation, not all cows are similar to each other, but I really encourage trying to make sure you do have cow uniformity as much as possible. Even if there's some variation, the EPDs will come out more true in offspring performance. In either case, a commercial operation or a seed stock operation, the more similar the cows are genetically to each other. Obviously, purebreds will be very, very similar to each other, although different divergent lines within a single breed can be quite different from one another as well. But in other words, this works, and you can do genetic selection in the context of a seed stock operation and also a commercial operation. And I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you for your time and attention. And if you need any assistance as far as trying to, plan your own herd plans, make records, and need any genetic consultation or my thoughts or anything, feel free to contact me. You can call me at my cell phone number, 919-796-7939, or you can email me there at my email there at any time. So let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day.